who cast the vote, not those who count, not those who supervise, not those who transmit, and not those who declare.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The NDC is tonight rallying civil society and religious leaders to protest against President Akufo-Addo's new appointments to the Electoral Commission after it emerged at least one of them is a known MPP activist. A lecturer with the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Dr. Peter Apiahene, the Director of Programs with the Anglican Diocese of Accra, Reverend Ekoa Ofori Boateng, and Salima Ahmed Tijani were sworn in yesterday as appointees of the Electoral Commission. Today, NDC party stalwarts are questioning the neutrality of the appointments. Listen to MP for Gwan constituency, Kofi Adams.
Some commissioners, even though it was their right to vote in the past, elect not to even vote. Even their political persuasion was really never known. And if they had voted, it would have been so difficult to even predict who they were voting for in order to show the level of being fair to all. Dr. Farijam, for example, stayed away from voting in all elections that he is pretendent over. Today, we are not only appointing persons that people will question either their qualification, their understanding, but we are also appointing party apparatchiks, which is wrong. I thought the president would have learned some lessons after bringing in the Dr. Bosmans and the rest, but that's not the case. As a party and as a member of parliament and as a citizen of this country, we are all going to watch this closely and monitor the actions and inactions of some of these officers that have been sworn in. Whatever appropriate actions that we will take it in order that our democracy is not destroyed beyond what has happened. That the sanctity of our votes shall be respected, and that no individual will do anything to undermine that process. And so if it is the plan that they break the eight that they are talking about, this is part of the scheme of things to pack the Electoral Commission, which will be independent of party apparatchiks. Then they should revise their notes.
Well, Ms. Adams says the president is deliberately packing the Electoral Commission with known activists and is now rallying civil society, media, and religious leaders to fight off what he believes to be a deliberate partisan politicization of the Electoral Commission.
We must all be concerned. As journalists, you must be concerned. As religious leaders, we must be concerned. Civil society must be concerned. There are some institutions that are independent, and right from commencement of this very fourth republic, all presidents have had so hard to keep institutions as much as possible on partisanship. But this current president have decided to desecrate all these independent institutions, including the Electoral Commission, and have arranged packet known faces, known activists of New Patriotic Party. Dr. Bosman was one of them, and we all saw after his appointment comments he made to suggest that the NDC was as a threat to democracy. This is the first time we have had a commissioner, for that matter, a deputy chair of electoral commission, make such a comment. This was so because of his partisan. Maybe individually, they may not have the requisite qualifying, but their partisan association should bar them from occupying such sensitive position as commission.
I want to bring in presidential correspondent Nelson Broby, who was there yesterday when the president swore in the commissioners, the new commissioners, 3 of them to be very specific. And Elton is joining me on the telephone line right now with more. Elton, we just heard Kofi Adams' complaints, and we know that this has come to the attention of the NDC. As of tonight, when we checked, we know the NDC has called a meeting on this. But the 3 appointees sworn in yesterday, you've heard the NDC's complaints as expressed by Kofi Adams. Who are they, and why are they so worried about them?
So, Evans, the 3, I mean, if you want to look at it from the point of appointment, you can conclude that since President Kufuor took office in 2017, this would be perhaps the 6th appointment to the Electoral Commission as commissioners. So currently you have 7 commissioners. Only 1 was not appointed by President Kufuor. All other 6, including the chairperson, Dr. Bosman, and the 3 that took their oath of office yesterday, all of them appointed by President Kufuor. So the 3 includes Dr. Peter Apiahene, Reverend Okua Boateng, and of course Halima Tijani Ahmed. The concern here, especially from what we are privy to, what we've been reading since morning when the news broke, most of it relates to Dr. Peter Apiahene. And from what we've checked, he is an IT consultant. He's a lecturer at the Department of Computer Science and Informatics, the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani, the capital of the Bono region. But of concern to a lot of people is whether or not the allegation that he is a patron of TESCOM at the University of Energy and Natural Resources holds water. Indeed, since morning, we have become aware, whether true or not, there's a poster flying around after the 2020 election. There was speculation about who was going to be named as the Bono Regional Minister. And this poster, as we have it, if you look at it carefully, it includes the name and picture of Dr. Apiahene as somebody who was being considered for the position of regional minister. So that then feeds into the narrative that he is indeed a member of the ruling New Patriotic Party. But he has yet to, speak publicly to deny or accept the tag that is on him right now. So that has been a concern for some political watchers. The other person...
And Elton, even on Mr. Apiahene, subsequently we ran additional checks. And it is emerged that he was also a TESCON patron at the University of Education, Winneba. And we know TESCON, it's the student wing of the NPP. And there's a strong link also that, many who were very close to him have established. His uncle was an NPP government appointee as a DCE. And that has also come out very strongly. But it is mainly the concerns around his very known staunch commitment as an activist at the TESCON level, as a patron at the University of Education, Winneba, that those who knew him then in the Bono region and in school, and if you're affiliated with the NDC, have raised as one of the key concerns that they are now flagging, for which reason they are asking civil society and others to join. But you've picked up more about the other 2.
So Evan, so the other person who's also become a subject of concern is Reverend Okua Boateng. And this person, we've been digging to know more about her. What we came across is that currently she's the director of programs for the Anglican Diocese of Accra. In fact, she's a Reverend Minister. Apart from that, interestingly, she is a member of the United States Advisory Committee on Africa, and that's what she served on the 2020 eminent advisory committee of the Electoral Commission. Interesting. Before the 2020 election, he was appointed to serve as member of the advisory committee of the Electoral Commission. If you check her CV and her educational background, very solid person. She had most of her degrees from bachelor's to master's to PhD in the United States of America. She's expert in energy and other related fields. And people are also questioning. I mean, we know that she hosts a religious program on Asase Radio every morning from Monday to Sunday, as we have been told. So these are some of the things that is getting people to raise concerns about the neutrality of some of these individuals. The other person, we are told again, it is very unclear who this person is. No information whatsoever about her as of now.
Now, Elton, yesterday, the president said something that is many are beginning to read a lot of meanings into it, about whether or not it mattered who the commissioners are and who actually collates and counts the votes. What did he say about this?
In fact, the president was very clear. Election, according to him, or the outcome of any election should not be determined by those who collate, those who count, and those who declare. But for him, those who vote are the ones who should determine the outcome of every election. And for that reason, if you want to read into it, then he's essentially saying that those who are appointed to supervise our election would not have any influence over the outcome of any election. We can listen to him.
In emphasizing the importance and credibility of elections, it must be pointed out that the count, the collation, the declaration of results cannot and should not be more important than the sacred God-given right of a citizen casting his or her ballot. I have said it before and I will repeat it. Elections are about those who cast the vote, not those who count, not those who supervise, not those who transmit, and not those who declare. The heart of the democratic process is giving effect to the choices made by those who cast the vote.
Elton, what about the integrity of these three appointees? Did the president vouch for them?
Absolutely. He was 100% certain that these are people with proven integrity and competence to do the work that they've been assigned to do. But also was quick to point out to them that they will have no honeymoon, because every decision, every step they will take will be scrutinized by political watchers. As far as he is concerned, he was convinced. In fact, he made reference to the fact that these appointments were, sent to the Council of State. The Council of State advised positively of it. That's the reason why he undertook that constitutional, requirement of him.
The three persons I have sworn in a few moments ago as members of the Electoral Commission are persons I am confident will bring integrity, professionalism, and independence and fairness of mind to the discharge of their duties. Article 46 of the Constitution demands that in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission will not be, quote, subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. It answers only to the Ghanaian people, the Constitution of the Republic, and its own conscience. As you begin work, you will find no honeymoon period. Neither will you be afforded the chance to settle into your new responsibilities. I have nevertheless confidence in you and in your abilities to surmount the hurdles before you. Remember that now, more than ever, every single decision you take will be scrutinized to the letter. That, however, should not scare you, and indeed, let no one try to cower you into submission.
And Elton, I wonder, from the appointees themselves, what do they have to say for themselves?
They appear to be very ready for the job ahead. In fact, Dr. Peter Apiahine, who spoke on behalf of the three commissioners, said that they are aware of the sensitive nature of the office that they will be occupying. They are very much aware also of the emotional attachment people, give to election-related matters in the country. And for that reason, they will be neutral, they will be fair, they will be just in the discharge of their duties.
Elton, thank you very much. And we'll hear from the NDC and MPP pretty shortly on this controversy that has erupted on the back of the confirmation and the swearing in yesterday of these three appointees. But I want to bring in first the Center for Democratic Development. And you know they've been very instrumental in the CODEO initiative, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers initiative. I want to bring in the programs manager at CDD, Mr. Paul Abrampa, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Abrampa, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Good evening. Thank you to you.
You've heard the NDC's concerns. Now that we know, at least one of the appointees used to be a former TESCON patron at the University of Education, Winneba, and has been a known activist in the MPP. They raise a lot of concerns about how it affects the neutrality of the commission itself and then cast a shadow on the integrity of elections. What's your reaction to the NDC's concerns tonight?
Yes, good evening again, Evans. And in fact, I'm not surprised at all that these reactions are coming. I've spoken to you several times on the position and mandate of the Electoral Commission. It demands total neutrality to build confidence. I always say that commission members, whether the commissioners or the commission members, have two forms of authority. The first authority is demand from the Constitution, that the President is mandated by the Constitution for the 3.1 and Article 71 to appoint Ghanaians of the defined qualification with the advice.
We've lost him. We'll get him back on the line for him to give us his thoughts on this. Plus, also hear from him regarding the president's pronouncements tonight. But I want to bring in the NDC's National Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, who is on the line with us. Do we have Sami Jemfi on the line with us? Okay, we don't have him on the line. We'll get him back, and then we'll get to hear from the MPP as well on this controversy that has come up. Mr. Abrampa is on. Mr. Abrampa, we lost you briefly. You were making your point.
Yes. Sorry, the line went. Yes. So as I was saying, there are two forms of authority, and the one is constitutional. The president is mandated by Article 71 to appoint qualified Ghanaians to the position. The second one is an authority that is earned, and it starts from who the person being appointed is. So it's the work of the Electoral Commission is just like a referee. It depends on trust, confidence, and integrity. The moment somebody starts from a wrong footing of being suspected to be affiliated to a known political party, the trust levels start going down. So that's the aspect that we have to look at it from. Otherwise, there's no limitation per the Constitution that forbids the president to appoint particular set of people or do not appoint people from particular institutions. But the moral aspect and the trust aspect being the bedrock of the work and the mandate of the Electoral Commission demands that we get people who are of absolute neutrality to occupy the position, to reduce the perception and the window that will be created for accusations. So that's the background that which we have to look at from. You remember in the appointment of Ms. Mensah, we said that even though it's not constitutional, that the president do enough consultation to get somebody who has acceptability across board. But it is good that we have that consensus built so as to start at a footing that we put in place people who have total acceptability across board. So that's the basis of which we come from.
So on the basis of that,
the work of the commission, it says that we need to reduce all windows for accusations and criticisms.
On the basis of what you've just said there, do you then agree that the appointment of Mr. Chiahene with his known background and activism in the MPP should never have happened?
I agree, and even go ahead to suggest that the appointment should be looked at again. And
in other words, you're asking that it should be withdrawn?
How the advice from the Council of State to the President, because the Article 71 says that the President does the appointment in consultation and advice of the Council of State. I don't know what kind of background checks that the Council made before giving the advice, knowing that some of these things can generate into conflicts and it starts on the wrong footing. So I recommend, I guess, not just agree with people who have some reservations. I go ahead to recommend that the appointment be looked at again.
Bottom line, you want it withdrawn.
If I were Mr. Apia, what was the name?
Yeah, Mr. Apia.
Yes, I will myself even ask to be excused to accept the position.
Please stay with me, Mr. Brampa. Let's get the thoughts of the NDC right now. National Communications Officer Sammy Jamefi. Mr. Jamefi, what does the party plan to do about this?
Well, first of all, let me say that as a party, we are totally disgusted by the continuous bastardization of independent constitutional bodies like the Electoral Commission by President Akufo-Addo. We all know that the Electoral Commission is an independent constitutional body. It is supposed to be neutral. And so when you have the president appointing known NPP apparatchiks, known MPP activists into the very, highest positions in the commission, that amounts to bastardization of a once revered, state institution. The Electoral Commission now has become an annex or a wing of the ruling New Patriotic Party, and that for us is totally unacceptable. We condemn these latest appointments in no uncertain terms, and we want to join, forces with civil society and other well-meaning Ghanaians to, push for the necessary reforms in the composition of our once revered electoral body. You recall that Dr. Bosman Asare had similar issues. He was a known patron of the NPP's intellectual wing at University of Ghana, TESCOM. We have this Dr. Peter Apiahene, who is also a known NPP TESCOM patron and communicator in the Bono region. And then you have the Reverend Ekia Oforibuateng, who is an employee of Gabi Ochedakon, cousin of President Akufo-Addo. Okay, so all the appointments the president has made are totally unacceptable and actually destroys the little credibility that the Electoral Commission has now. So we are all appalled.
But are you doing
we
something?
We are not appointing authorities, so
yes,
there isn't much.
But are you doing something
do
specifically
legally,
on this?
But we will continue to protest. That we are entitled to as citizens of this country and as a political party. We'll continue to protest. We'll continue to raise these issues of political interference in the composition and operations of the Electoral Commission by the ruling MPP, particularly President Akufo-Addo. That we shall continue to do.
Nana Boakye is the national organizer of the MPP. Joins us on the line right now. Mr. Boakye, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Oh, thank you very much, Evans. How are you, my brother?
I am doing great. So we've now learned that one of the appointees sworn in yesterday to the Electoral Commission is a known TESCON patron, an activist of the party. We've had civil society already say that appointment should be looked at again. In other words, withdrawn. NDC obviously is protesting clearly for the integrity of the Electoral Commission, for the process of elections itself, not only to come across as free and fair, but to be seen to be. Isn't it in your own interest to back these calls, and do you back them?
Evans, thank you very much for having me. First of all, His Excellency the President has executed his mandate in the Constitution. I have gone through the Constitution. To be a commissioner of the Electoral Commission, you must have same qualification as if you were contesting to be a member of Parliament. And I think that clearly I've listened to some of the people who are raising these red flags, and I've not seen anybody raise issues of illegality, unconstitutionality. I think it's just the same old, shouts from the rooftop anytime these appointments are made. I recall that when Dr. Bosman was appointed, similar shouts, came from the opposition. It appears that it's the same chorus they are following. So for me, is the appointment in line with the 1992 Constitution? Yes or no? Yes. Is it the case that the person who's been appointed, is the person's qualification the same as though he's contesting to be a member of parliament? Yes. So I think that people rather should be putting out argument of illegality or unconstitutionality rather than shouting all of these. So for me, I
on
don't
the
see anything wrong
constitutional
with
question,
it.
though, you
And
raised on the constitutional
I
question.
cannot in any way confirm whether the person is a TESCOM patron or not. I don't know. I remember that when Dr. Bosman was appointed, they said that he was a TESCOM patron on Legon campus. And at that time, I was a national youth organizer, and I said that I do not know Dr. Bosman to be a patron of the New Patriotic Party. No. So it's the same shout.
But Mr. Boache, on the constitutional,
I think what is important is that
you think that the constitutional on the constitutional question, the Constitution says when it comes to the EC, it has to be independent. Then you have an individual who is a patron of the TESCON.
Are you able to confirm that he's a patron of TESCON?
University
I don't
of
know about that.
Campus. But
that is why.
But that's the question. I'm just asking the question on
Sorry?
the constitutionality. If that is proving, as multiple sources have said it is, doesn't that bring the neutrality?
Multiple sources like what, Evans? I think that let's situate our conversation.
The substantive question
within some space of
Mr. Boache, the substantive question.
Evidence.
If you
sources like from where?
Let me ask the substantive question. Doesn't that then question the neutrality issues and the independence that the Constitution itself that you recite actually points to and demands?
I don't think so. You know what? In fact, I recall that when I was even reading constitutional law, there were arguments made that since the Constitution allows His Excellency the President to appoint these personalities onto commissions or committees or boards, that means that the neutrality of these personalities will be compromised. Why? Because the appointor is His Excellency the President. So by the mere fact that His Excellency the President appoints this person means that the person's neutrality is compromised. I mean, I've heard some of these arguments. So, but the Constitution gives the President the mandate. The drafters of the Constitution gave the President that mandate to appoint, unless an amendment takes place and such mandate is taken away from His Excellency the President. But presidents from 1992 have had this mandate of appointing commissioners. So I don't think this is the first time. So that is why I'm saying that I'm looking at it from that point of view. That if anybody should question the neutrality of these personalities, then it means the president should not even appoint at all. Because anybody at all can make that inference that once the president is appointing, then there's that element of the neutrality of that person being compromised. But that is not it. It is the Constitution. The Constitution says that the president has the mandate to appoint.
Let me bring in Mr. Brumper with the CDD. Mr. Brumper, Mr. Boache has a point, does he not? That if you look at the constitutional dictates when it comes to the qualification to become a commissioner, these three individuals meet all the requirements, the constitutional requirements.
Absolutely so. I did mention that the president, per the Constitution, is not limited as to which particular person he could appoint if the person meets all the qualifications as set out in the Constitution, being a sound person, beyond 18 years, and all those things. But in a position such as the Electoral Commission, a referee of very important and sensitive process in the country as far as democracy is concerned, we need to go beyond certain limits in the Constitution. So if indeed, why do people in public services have to resign if they want to contest in elections, in particular in the name of political parties, because the belief is that they cannot perform their duties and support the policies of the party they do not support. So just by that suspicion, the ethics is that they resign their positions before they go contest. Similarly, it's the same thing. Even in ordinary football matches, teams do protest against referees they suspect to be biased. So if indeed somebody has openly and publicly affiliated himself to a particular political party, it behoves on the person. To me, if I were the person, I'll resign myself. Because when you accept this position, the pressure is going to be on you perpetually until you retire. And that is not going to help him in the discharge of his duties. You know the way politics play out in this country. So some of these things must go beyond constitutional limits.
The president said something, though, when he swore them in. He said elections are not about the individuals on the commission. It is about the voter and the ballot that he casts. It's not about the person who will count or the person who will tally or collate. Do you agree with him?
Evans, we've gone to court twice in the history of the Fourth Republic as far as elections are concerned. Go and read the statements that are taken to court. The first one is biases and sometimes purported manipulations by the people at the commission. So this goes beyond just admonishing people to be upright. It's actually the practice. And as I said, as far as elections are concerned, as far as commissions are concerned, we have two forms of authority. The constitutional mandates and authority that is bestowed to the individuals, to the commission by the president, and the moral one that is earned, and it starts from who the person being appointed is. So we need to go beyond the constitutional limit and admonition, and we need to see to it that people appointed to such positions as referees are people who have general acceptability, but parties, actually the key parties in the contest. So please, I insist that we need to go beyond constitutional limits as spelled out in the Constitution.
Mr. Brumper, Paula Brumper is with the Center for Democratic Development. Thank you very much. Sami Jemfi is the National Communications Officer with the NDC. I'm grateful. And you heard earlier Nana Boakye, who is the national organizer of the NPP there. Where do you stand on this? I want to hear from you. 055-1111-997 here on Newsnight. NDC establishing mechanism to flush out their members of parliament who would dare vote in secret to approve any of President Akufo-Addo's ministerial nominees who've been left in limbo a month after their vetting.
If any of them cannot understand that this interest of this country remain paramount, being asked by the party and their constituents would actually take issues with them. We will put mechanisms in place to be able to know.
With Parliament set to rise in a week, the countdown has started towards an eventual secret ballot on the nominees. We hear from minority MPs who say they will not dare disrespect the party's wishes.
Where we are, we haven't changed our position. We are saying that no, he's living too large, he should show by example.
The party has asked us to do, we will do. In fact, there is even the likelihood that we may actually gain votes.
Also tonight, government's chances of closing a $3 billion deal with the IMF hangs in the balance as a minority vows to battle passage of 3 revenue bills crucial to closing the deal unless their concerns are taken on board.
If you want to introduce additional taxes or increase the bandwidth, people are going to pay more, and it's going to affect the disposable income of the individual. So these are the matters we are looking at. Is it the right time to impose taxes on the people? But we can't eat your cake and so have it.
And in business, government is optimistic of securing Parliament's approval for 3 key revenue measures needed to aid in the approval of their program with the IMF board.
And in sports, 24 players arrive in camp ahead of Black Stars AFCON qualifier against Angola on Thursday. We'll bring an update on the team's training currently underway in Kumasi.
You want to stay with us for that and more. Plus, your views are welcome after this break. I'll share a few with you here on News Night. One Ghana, just one Ghana, one Ghana, Vodafone,
Yo, bro, I beg, make you give me correct shock absorber. Or make I do video concept, then take the Gaussian P for the engine show you.
Hey, yawa humache. Every morning you the tear calls, they browse. Actually, something they there.
Hey, Tago, the way town make hot. I grow best one if you no po. If it be you where you get Vodafone 1 Ghana promo them out 20 minutes talk time to call all networks. Where you start get data and 1 gig from 5 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. Bang. Anka you go do pass me safe, Ankasa. You dial *530 hash. Make we enjoy. You go fit subscribe as many times as you want.
Yes, plantain chips.
Yo, sweet Ama, take this by Vodafone 1 Ghana bundle. Moku vibe plus video calls and taste. You catch the vibe early morning, 5 a.m. sharp.
Vodafone, further together.
With the new coach taking up the reins of the Black Stars, we are all excited to see what the future holds. Get ready for the cheers, drama and suspense in the AFCON qualifiers this month. The battle for sport in the next African Cup of Nations is on. Ayepinso. GoTV brings you the live telecast of the two-leg clash between the Black Stars of Ghana and the Black Antelopes of Angola on Thursday 23rd of March and 27th of March 2023 on SuperSport. Catch the games live on Go Football Channel 131. Ebeye Dankasa. Men like you, reconnect and now stay connected on *759 hash to enjoy the action live on SuperSport. Go TV. Love it.
And you're live, your news night is on Joy 99.7 FM. And let's go to Parliament tonight. In a matter of days, the House is set to rise, and the countdown has already started towards a major showdown over President Akufo-Addo's latest ministerial nominees. It has been a month since the nominees, including the appointee for the Trade Ministry, were vetted, and yet Parliament is yet to debate and possibly vote on whether to approve or reject them. Now, Joy News is learning the majority side has failed to lay the Appointments Committee report before the House for debate because it lacked the numbers to force through an approval. We have more on that shortly, but first, the NDC is tonight restating its determination to whip its MPs in line to reject all of the nominees. But since it will come down to a secret vote, there are concerns some NDC MPs may break ranks and vote in secret for the nominees. Well, the General Secretary of the party, Fifi Kwete, has issued a stern warning to all NDC MPs intending to betray the party's loyalty. Now, he says they are establishing a mechanism to fish out MPs who might vote in secret for any of the nominees.
Of course we are monitoring. Of course we are. And also understand it. What we're asking of them is not just something that party leadership is asking. It's actually something that the nation is demanding. We're talking about millions of Ghanaians expect that. Even foreign government can see it and asking that it be done. How much more us? Now, so if there are any MPs, and I know, having been an MP myself, I do know. I mean, in the House, you have what you call friendships. Now, what I want to, again, signal is this. The position that we are taking is not a position that is against any individuals. Some of those who are being, what you call, appointed, nominated, are friends of mine. But this position, a position for Ghana, we are saying that it is simply not right in the midst of this crisis to allow this government to continue keeping the size of the government that they do. The day the president decides that, it is true. It's not only the NDC that's calling for it, the people of Ghana are calling for it, even foreign government are calling for it. Let me do something about the size of government. They can renominate, and some of those same individuals will have no issue. We have no problem with them as individuals.
As we speak, Mr. Kwete, it's been more than a month since the vetting. And from every indication, it's because of the posture you've taken. And because also we don't have a substantive agric minister. We don't have a substantive trade minister. But even serious consequences.
But even does not tell you exactly about the level of intransigence we have as far as the government is concerned. What does it take to be able to say, listen, this nation is going through real crisis? It's not asking for too much for me to be able to reduce the size of government. But we're talking about the president, his vice, and the government. We just don't care. That's their attitude. We don't care. The country can go to anywhere. We are going to do what we've got to do. The boys must have jobs. The girls must have jobs.
Eventually, this will come to the floor in a debate. I mean, Parliament is rising next week. So definitely between now and next week, this should be decided. I need to ask you, and you remember, you possibly would have noticed, the last time an issue like that about ministers being approved came up, it sparked grassroots revolt in your party because the people ended up being approved and they got votes from your members when the party was explicit that these individuals we don't want to touch. What do you say to your grassroots about this?
The individual,
and the MPs who...
Our MPs, I believe, will rise to the occasion. Now, if any of them cannot understand that this interest of this country remain paramount, being asked by the party, it simply means that they are not conscious yet of the gravity of the situation. And their constituents would actually take issues with them.
Have you instructed them to stay in the house and vote against it, or they should leave? Because many say it's a secret ballot, remember?
To vote against it.
So they should stay?
Apps to vote against.
But remember, it's secret ballot.
Yes, we know.
I'm going in addition to that.
We know that.
It's a secret ballot.
Sure, we know.
But you don't have the power. You know who. And these MPP learned that on the 7th of January 2021. That can prove disastrous for you.
We are aware. We've taken all that into consideration.
So what are you doing?
We are going to ensure that they do exactly as the people of Ghana expect of them to do.
When it's a secret ballot.
What the millions of Ghanaians expect of them to do. To understand that this is nothing personal.
You have a lot of faith. You have a lot of faith in your 136 members of parliament.
Yes, because I do understand. I do feel that they appreciate what is going on in this country.
Do you understand the consequence from the party if they break ranks and possibly someone votes and you may not even know the person? Do you understand? Have you told them what is the consequence?
How do you know we may not know?
Well, MPP hasn't found out the person who voted for Abang Bagbing still. So I guess that's why I'm believing that you may not know.
I tell you that we will put mechanisms in place to be able to know.
Well, let's speak to parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante. Kweku, how are NDC MPs reacting to this warning? We just heard there from Fifi Kwete that the party will have mechanisms to identify any NDC MP who might vote for any of the nominees.
Evans, I spoke with Dr. Clement Apag, the MP for Bulsa South. I also spoke with MP for Pando, Honorable De La Soa. The two are categorical that the feeling within their ranks in Parliament is that this directive from the party is in the best interest, and that is something they are going to do. They are upbeat that none of them is going to go the way it did the last time, and that all of them will vote against President Akufo-Addo's ministerial nominees when it comes to the floor for a vote.
But we believe approving them is only going to add on to public expenditure. So yes, we are going to do what the party has said, and I'm very confident that we will do just that.
How sure can you be that what happened the last time will not happen when some of your, because this is a secret vote, can there be any mechanism, properly so-called, to be able to whip all MPs in line to do the same thing when people go into the secret box and can do what they want?
Well, the party has made it very clear, and I believe that as members of the NDC, members of Parliament, we have also learnt our lessons from previous occurrences. I know many Ghanaians and our rank and file expressed disquiet. Many of them were truly disappointed in us for what happened. So for us as members of Parliament, I would say this also gives us an opportunity to redeem ourselves. So that cause for redemption has presented itself. If you combine that with the fact that we are under a 3-line whip, I think that I am confident enough to say that what the party has asked us to do, we will do. In fact, there is even the likelihood that we may actually gain votes from our colleagues on the other side, from what we are picking up. So we cannot say 100%, but we will do our best, and I believe that we would redeem ourselves and also at least show to Ghanaians that we can walk the talk.
Well, we have said over and over again that President Akufo-Addo should show an example by reducing his large government. So we are where we are. We haven't changed our position. We are saying that no, he's living too large. He should show by example.
Kweku, it has been a month since the vetting. Where is the appointment committee's report, and why has Parliament not debated it yet?
Indeed, Evans, the appointment committee report has actually been laid in Parliament more than 2 weeks ago. Ordinarily, if you look at the way business in Parliament is carried out, this report would have been taken, would have been debated, and a vote would have happened. But clearly, the reason why this appointment committee report has not been taken and voted on yet is because of the numbers game. The NPP have 137 MPs plus an independent MP who caucuses with them. The NDC also have 136. But we know that for a while now, Sarah Adwoa-Safo has not been attending Parliament. We also know that there's a deputy minister who's also currently outside of the country. So that brings the NPP numbers to 136. If the NDC are also able to marshal all 136 MPs to the floor, the motion will lose, because according to the standing orders, when there's a tie on a motion, the motion is lost. And so it's clearly a numbers game, and the majority side have not been able to marshal the numbers to be on the floor. We know that only a few days back, the NDC directed its party members to always come to Parliament. And indeed, it has been so. They are almost always on the floor. It is not so clear what the majority strategy is. But we expect that within this week and next week, the MPP side are going to get all their MPs on the floor. I mentioned Sarah Jo Asafo early on. For the whole of this meeting, she's only come to Parliament not more than twice. Indeed, today she was in the House. We know that on Thursday, government is hoping that the 3 financial bills will all be voted on and will get those revenue bills and get the bill. Sarah Jo Asafo is back. We do not know if she will stay up until Thursday when this financial vote will be taken, and as to whether or not she will stay until the vote on the ministerial nominees are taken. The last time she was here, she came for a day, and then she missed the rest of the sittings until today. So it's clearly a numbers game. The report has been laid more than 2 weeks ago. The minority have made it clear on that committee that they are against all the nominees the president has put forward. So it is by majority vote that the House is expected to vote. And until the majority side feel like they have the numbers, either from their side or by being able to convince some members on the NDC side to join them in that secret vote, you may not see the vote happening ever.
And quickly stay with me, because you just touched on another major decision that Parliament will be confronted with in the next 48 hours. Indeed, a tense 48 hours lay ahead in Parliament as the NDC minority vows to block the passage of 3 important revenue bills crucial to the country gaining $3 billion IMF deal. Already the minority say they have reservations. And Kweku, you've been speaking to member on the NDC side on the Finance Committee, Richard Champon, who has been explaining their concerns.
We have some reservations, so the committee is built to meet again, so that we fine-tune the final draft, so that the report will be presented to the plenary. So as I speak, we are just from a committee meeting. I know within up to Thursday, the fine-tuning will be done, so that the chairman can go ahead and present the committee's report, provided our input will be taken on board, so that when the report is tabled before members will also debate it and make their input, so that the speaker will put the question, so that we'll go cross by cross, and then we'll see how to deal with those matters, either to reduce the rate or the threshold we are going to deal with it or whatever, so that the final decision will be taken either Friday or Thursday or Friday or the following week, so that we'll bring finality to this task force. Because it was part of the 2023 budget presented by the finance minister. So I know we are going to deal with it, but we have some reservations. The way we are looking at the economic environment that we find ourselves, the hardship that people are complaining about, inflation of 52%. So on top of all these, if we want to introduce additional taxes or increase the bandwidth, people are going to pay more, and it's going to affect the disposable income of the individual. So these are the matters we are looking at. Is it the right time to impose taxes on the people? But they are looking at the IMF deal so that they can rake in the 3 billion facility. But we can't eat your cake and so have it. So let's also think about the ordinary person on the street. If we impose this additional tax, the tax burden will be heavy on them.
And Kweku, you say in the next 48 hours this will come to the floor. To be specific, on Thursday. Remember that Parliament, from what I understand, is rising soon. When exactly is this? And I wonder what the mood is as we anticipate Thursday's showdown.
Evans, the expectation is that Parliament would go for Easter break 31st of this month. That is next week Friday, to make way for that Easter break for members to go and be with their families and in their constituencies. The expectation is that that is the date tentatively. But if government are not able to get some of these business through, the expectation is that they will sit through the following week up until Easter before MPs can go on break. Parliament has declared that on Thursday, no other business will be transacted except these 3 revenue measures, clearly telling you that government is coming in with some fierce force to be able to get this through. On Thursday, that is the expectation that these revenue measures will all come, the third reading will happen, then a vote will be taken. The minority say they have some concern. Our understanding is that even this morning, the Finance Committee met over some of these revenue bills to clear some of the outstanding issues that the minority have. I spoke with some highly placed sources, both on the minority and the majority sides of the Finance Committee, who told me that as far as they are concerned, they've done their bit, and it's up to the leadership on both sides to negotiate and come to some agreement. And that is what they are expecting, that by Thursday, this negotiation would have concluded, and then there will be a vote, because the majority side will not risk putting it up for a vote, and then it will be rejected. Mind you, this is not a secret vote. This is normally voice vote. If it goes to the voice vote and is challenged, it will come with a head count. If it comes to a head count and the minority members have more MPs on the floor than their colleagues on the majority, these revenue measures would all have collapsed. And it's not so tidy for government, especially now that they are looking to get in this IMF deal just in time before the end of March or as soon as April. So clearly, the battle lines are now drawn. The minority say that if you factor in our concern, we may go with you on Thursday, but if not, then we might delay this for a while up until Easter.
And the days are counting indeed. And you've mentioned the question about the numbers. Adjasafo is back in the House. But the NDC, we know they've also lost one, technically. I mean, we still don't know what's happening with that particular MP. So their numbers are down to 136.
And so, yes, they have 136 because Joe Kwei said is technically not an MP who can transact business on the floor of the House. Sometimes I see him in the precincts of Parliament. He's in the Justice Hundred, but he never comes to the floor whenever such crucial matters are taken. And so that leaves NDC with 136 MPs to be able to come to the floor whenever there's any such crucial vote. The NPP ordinarily have 138. But mind you, there are two MPP MPs that the majority leadership may not be able to count on. First, Sarah Joasafo, who the last time she was in the House was about 3 weeks ago. She was here again today. We don't know if she will come tomorrow and the day after. We also know that there's a deputy minister who is said to have gone outside the country for some medical experiences. We do not have so much detail. She's not been around in Parliament for a while. I've not seen her. So their number also comes to 136. And so if it is 136 apiece on both sides and there's any vote, because the majority will be the one proposing the motion, it will tie. And once it ties, it will be lost. And so Adjoa is now very crucial. Today, when she was leaving Parliament, the members on the majority side, some of whom have been asking that she loses a seat, were actually cheering her on. You understand the clear political gaming going on there. So expectation is that she will continue coming tomorrow on Thursday when these financial bills and other such crucial business, including the ECCI, which has been on eye for some time, if all these business is expected to come up on the floor, Frank Anodon as Majority Chief Whip will clearly need every particular member on the majority side to be on the floor to be able to get those businesses through.
Kweku, thank you very much. And I want to bring in the Dean of the economist and Dean of the Business School at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, into the conversation as far as these three bills are concerned and why they are so important to securing an IMF bailout. Remember that the government had insisted that they want an IMF bailout this month before the month is out on the 31st. And so this particular consideration is critical. Prof, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you.
The three bills in question, the Income Tax Amendment Bill, the Excise Duty Amendment Bill, and the Growth and Sustainability Amendment Bills, how crucial are they?
Well, I think they are crucial to the extent that they are part of the precondition to an IMF program. It is not because we have assessed our country and we needed those revenues to develop the country, but we just need them so that we can meet the IMF conditionality for the program to go through.
But as it stands now, there are difficulties, and it raises the question, so if we pass it, that then obviously, should we expect them to be an automatic path then towards an IMF deal if this is passed, considering all the challenges that we have in Parliament?
Not so, because we are talking about debt exchange program first, and then we are talking about these revenue enhancing measures. So until we are done with both, I'm not sure we can clinch an IMF deal. And of course, if you look at the fiscal measures that are being put in place, we have increased the VAT 2.5%. We have removed the benchmark value from the port. We have done other increments. Then we are also putting on the table these revenue enhancing measures that will increase water by about 20%. We increase all the excess duties that we pay. It is the same consumer that all these things are being levied on. So it is something that we ought to look at If only we are looking at IMF program, and that's why we are doing all these things. We also need to assess the effect of all these fiscal measures that we are putting on the same consumer.
Prof, thank you very much. Professor John Gachi, the economist and the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, talking to us. I want to bring in the minority member on the Finance Committee in Parliament. Patrick Boama joins us on the line. Thank you very much, Mr. Boama, for your time here on the majority member on the Finance Committee, Patrick Boama. Thank you very much, Mr. Boama, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your cherished listeners, please.
We just had your colleagues on the committee say they have concerns with these three bills, mainly borders on their issues surrounding the fact that it may increase the burden on the poor Ghanaian at a time when the economy is already battering them. I know you've been meeting to try and resolve this before Thursday. Have you reached a consensus?
Thank you, Evans. I believe you are talking about the excise amendment bill, the growth and sustainability bill, exactly, and the income tax amendment bill.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, because the gentleman who called me, Kwete, was talking about some approvals for the justices of the Supreme Court. Okay, let me give you a background to it. In the economic policy of the president that was presented to the president last year, was these bills that I've mentioned. We had a committee meeting chaired by Honorable Kweku Kwate and Honorable Atufos and the ranking member, now minority leader. I can share with you the three bills and the reports of the committee. The committee's decision was a unanimous decision by the entire committee. It was during the appropriation stage that we couldn't take all those three bills through the normal parliamentary processes of bill making. So let me the facts clear and confirm that those bills obtained a consensus decision by the committee. Just that it was during the appropriations period that we had to put them on hold because we needed to clear the Appropriations Act. So I don't understand when the minority began to have issues with a bill that consensus had been reached, a report has been produced, which I can share with you. I believe it was after the change of leadership that maybe Honorable Atufosin, as a new minority leader, has had a change of mind, but that has not reflected in the committee's report. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a bill, there is a report that has to be debated on, and if a vote has to be taken on, then a vote will be taken on those bills.
You're confident that you get passage of these three bills on Thursday?
I believe so, because if you listen to the president in the State of the Nation address, there are prior action bills towards the achievement of a program with a fund. And we believe that we need to support those bills. And we have the numbers if the minority decides not to support it after agreeing with us in committee by a consensus report, then we'll take it through a vote.
You talk about numbers, and I want to bring in now the other issue that may come down to a vote, which is the ministerial nominees. The ministers who have nominated were vetted a month ago. I understand the committee report is ready, has been laid, but there's a struggle to bring it to the floor. And from what we've heard, fundamentally, is because there's a struggle on your side to get all your members in the House to ensure a passage, especially when your minority colleagues have indicated that they will reject them if it comes down to a vote.
Again, Evans, even before we started vetting Honorable Katie Hammond, Honorable Brian Champon, Honorable Amwa, Honorable Obi Amwa, Honorable Amin Anta, and Honorable Asamoah Boateng, the minority, even before we started the vetting process, had indicated that they were against these nominees because they wanted the president to reduce the size of government. Even with that, they came to sit and vetted them. And the report that the Appointments Committee produced, of which I'm a member, was that we approved the nominees by a majority decision. So that was the decision of the Appointments Committee, of which a report has been produced. And if it's laid by the first deputy speaker and the minority wants a vote, that one will be also taken through a voting process, which is allowed by the rules of the House.
So you're confident that when it comes down to that, you will get your members approved?
I believe so.
By the way, do you have an indication when this is going to come to the floor for a vote, for a decision?
Well, I'll know tomorrow because it will appear on the provisional order paper for Thursday, definitely.
Okay. Patrick Bama, thank you very much. And Patrick Bama is a majority member on the Finance Committee in Parliament. I want to hear from you on the decision by both the NDC on the two key points of the three bills, and then also the approval or rejection of the nominees. Get me your thoughts, 055 1111 I'll share it with the rest of the world. And talking about that, many of you have already joined with your thoughts, particularly on the story surrounding the Electoral Commission. No matter how long a lock stays in the river, it can never turn into a crocodile. President Akufo-Addo can even appoint, he says, his wife to be the commissioner of the EC, and he says the MPP will so massively lose the elections. And that's the story regarding the appointments to the Electoral Commission that the NDC is fighting tonight. Another one there from Joe, who says, it is unfortunate for President Akufo-Addo to say that the Electoral Commission, regardless of who is appointed, the most important aspect is the voting, and that the people who count really do not matter. And I want to share one more with you. Still on that same story, Henry says, Oyuwa, here they come again. How can Ghana's President Akufo-Addo be packing non-MPP party members already to the Electoral Commission? He queries. And I'll do a final one, and I'll bring in George Wafi, who is here with business, and Nana on the Spinkters rule. So if going by the president's logic, why did they pull heaven and earth to remove Charlotte Osei? Is a question that is asked. And George is here with business. Hello, George. And I know that one of the key things that myself and yourself we've been following, because our listeners need an update on the finance minister is en route now, possibly should be arriving in China tomorrow, from what we understand, correct?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he should be wrapping up his meeting in Ethiopia, the UN meeting in Ethiopia, that is tomorrow, and all other things being equal, if nothing comes up, he should be jetting off.
And then we'll have conversations there. And then we understand that today the Paris Club was supposed to have met.
Yeah,
I don't know whether they've met already. And then, of course, the three bills that we just talked about. So there's a lot happening this week that will determine our economic fate. And we're looking for some updates. And so I guess, George,
well, updates you had actually teased it, because government itself remained optimistic that it would secure Parliament's approval for the three key revenue measures needed to secure the IMF approval of Ghana's economic program. And former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and also a former Director General of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, makes a strong case for regulators to protect retail investors in the country. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
Me tycoon. Hey, see the plenty money you are carrying this early morning. Adey.
Charlie, you levy asemu.
You levy do what? As for you, you wait and listen to all the information before you start carrying money up and down like we are in 1995. Then you levy there, it has come. But you know MTN will always find a way to sort you out.
Sort me out, Sese.
Oh, so you don't know that when you transfer money between your personal accounts, cash in and cash out at agent points, buy airtime or data, pay bills, receive remittance from abroad, or even pay taxes, there are no e-levy charges?
Hey, we are sure.
Sure. Listen, there are a number of transactions you can perform with your MTN Momo that are not affected by the e-levy tax. And there's even more, Kra. Remember, your first 100 Ghana cedi transfer for the day is free too.
Hey, na minimo.
Now, dear, you know.
There are a number of transactions you can perform with your MTN Momo that are not affected by the e-levy tax. So keep enjoying the security and convenience with MTN Momo and make payments on the go with MTN Momo.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Keys. What could be simpler than a key? Who doesn't have a key? A car key, an office key, a drawer key, but there's one key that rules them all. The house key, the key to a place we call home, the key to the home where everything comes together, the key to a home that is our own, a home where we make life happen with our families and loved ones. Adoha has been working hard for over 30 years to make home ownership within reach for many. Say yes to property with Adoha. Your dream home is one call away. Your dream home is a few clicks away. Visit our Accra project, The Place, by calling 030-2789-757.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, government has indicated that it remains fairly optimistic of securing Parliament's approval for some of its key revenue measures currently before the House. There is more in this report.
The three revenue papers, that is the Income Tax Amendment Bill, Growth and Sustainable Bill, and the Excise Amendment Bill, have all been laid before the House and are currently at the consideration stage. This was after it got the necessary approval from the Finance Committee of Parliament for it to be considered by the House. According to the Finance Ministry, these revenue bills should bring almost 5 billion Ghana cedis to support the economy. It, however, maintains that it has done the necessary engagement with all the interested parties to secure the approval. However, it will not hesitate to push it through a vote if it's needed. Some analysts have argued that if government is not able to get the approval this week, it could affect the timelines for getting IMF board approval for government's economic program. Well, despite this being one of the preconditions for securing an IMF program, some businesses have argued that the bills in its current form will not aid in the growth of enterprises in the country. It is not clear for now how this will affect Ghana's program request with the IMF if it fails to get Parliament's approval this week. Government claims it is working hard to submit its program request for the IMF board approval by the end of the month.
And that is a Business Desk report. Meanwhile, the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber is raising some concerns about the Growth and Sustainability Levy, which argues that the proposed tax will increase the cost of doing business for the oil and exploration companies in the country. The chamber noted that at the time that most firms in the country are struggling, this should be the last thing that government should consider, and this levy is one of the key revenue measures that is before Parliament the government is seeking to get some approval. Now, a former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission and also a former National Director General of the Pensions Regulatory Commission are all making a strong case for improved regulation to protect investors in the country. They believe that enough has not been done in the current environment. Let's hear from Dr. Donani Hinchi. He's the former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
When this DDEP issue came, I did not see any regulator performing an investor protection role. The government is an issuer of securities, and people who are holding government securities must be protected. The fact that government securities will not go through regulations for approval before issuance does not mean people who are holding that document should not be protected. How come investors were told that I will not give you any interest whatsoever for 1 year? And regulators thought that they have no role to protect that investor.
Dr. Donanenchi is a former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission speaking at the Graphic Stanbic breakfast meeting. At that same engagement, a former Director General of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, that is Dr. Daniel Seder, noted that there is no way the burden should be put on retail investors.
The regulators need to be told in the face. They need to up their games because it's the customers that come with the money that is invested. And it's not government that should be protected. Government is too big. So if you go on the side of government, you create more problem. I'll illustrate what Dr. Duanani said with a circular that came from the central bank. They say the old bonds, they will not admit it for capital adequacy computation. That creates problem. Who issued the old bond and who issued the new bond? It's the same government of Ghana. So what is it that you're trying to do?
A former Director General of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, Dr. Daniel Seder, speaking at the Graphic Business Stanbic breakfast meeting earlier today. First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Pokuaferi, is making a strong case for policymakers to create the enabling environment for job creation to support the growing youth and those who are coming out of our universities. The First Deputy Governor said this at a congregation or ceremony of a Bachelor of Administration class of 2003 at the University of Ghana this afternoon.
Innovation allows for job creation, and we should strive towards that. We need to dream and dream big. As a matter of fact, talking about linkages between academia and industry, my current employer, the Bank of Ghana, has forged and continues to forge strong links with the University of Ghana fraternity, and that relationship will continue to strengthen. Recent developments show that academic training and the global economy, including that in Ghana, is undergoing profound technological revolution. Among others, this revolution is facilitating the ongoing of exchange of ideas, skills, and perspectives needed by the youth to drive the Ghanaian economy to the next level.
First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opokuafere, who is also Chair, Advisory Board of College of Humanities at the University of Ghana. Now, young startups have been urged to be financially disciplined in their quest to sustain their operations. This, according to the Chief Executive Officer of Quick Credit, Richard Quay, is key to aiding their expansion. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines for a presentation of a seed capital to some startups, he encouraged entrepreneurs to preserve and make great strides within the business world.
Entrepreneurs would have to be disciplined. They have to be financially disciplined. They have to be prepared to make decisions, good decisions, because as a businessman, what will distinguish you from your colleagues, or if you will survive the test of time, would depend on your ability to make great decisions faced with challenges. Okay, so when you are faced with challenges, your ability to make great decisions will determine whether you will see the next day or not.
And that is Richard Quay, he's Chief Executive of Quick Angels. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Joe, thank you very much. Let's do sports now. Ms. Bao is here with the latest.
Yes, Evans. 24 players have arrived in the camp of the Black Stars, and they have touched down in Kumasi ahead of Thursday AFCON qualifier between Ghana and Angola. My colleague Stephen Zando of Love FM has been monitoring the team and has come to you with this report.
24 players touched down at the Kumasi airport around 1:50 p.m. earlier today to a low-key arrival where the Black Stars were not met with huge crowd like we usually experience in Kumasi whenever the Stars come around. There was virtually no fanfare upon arrival as the Stars boarded their bus to their base, the Lancaster Hotel. The team, led by head coach Chris Houghton, held a training session at the Babayawa Sports Stadium around 5 p.m. with all 24 players. Only Salis Abdulsamed missed the session with reasons yet unknown. They are expected back on the pitch tomorrow for the mandatory session, which shall be open to the public for the first 15 minutes. At the training today, all players participated, with the players looking fresh and poised for action on Thursday. Stephen Zando for Joy Sports.
And even so, that's it. Thursday, definitely looking forward to that game against Angola.
What's your prediction?
I think we should do 3 goals to 0. 3 goals to 0.
Say the country again?
Angola.
Weren't you beaten by this? I think Madagascar or something.
The past is not the present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have a new coach.
Yes,
so,
yes.
We're all rooting for him. Thank you very much, Ms. Bao. Indeed, this is your election headquarters. It's been a busy day at the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress as many aspiring to lead the NDC into the 2024 elections returned their forms after they toured the country to get signatures. One of them is former President John Dramani Mahama, and already his aides who represented him have given a strong warning to the Electoral Commission to stay neutral in its duties. My colleague Samuel Mbura was there for us and joins us on the telephone line right now. Samuel, so why is the team of former President Mahama so keen when it comes to elections and the neutrality of the Electoral Commission?
Well, the point the team is making is that previous elections have seen complaints about a lack of fair playing grounds for all participating political parties, in which they think should not be repeated in the upcoming elections. A reason they want the EC to continue to be neutral in its activities.
Cheat any party, and they say we are not ready for any party to cheat us. We are also sending a strong signal to the EC that the essence of multi-party democracy is to give the people the best. In a situation where you portray as if you are given an advantage to a particular party, then we'll get the type of performance we have to.
And Samuel, one of the key challenges the party has faced over many elections is their inability to have a proper functioning collation system. What is John Mahama and his team saying about this challenge?
Well, Professor Alabi, who filed the forms and spoke on behalf of John Mahama, is optimistic that if Mahama is given the opportunity to lead them, they would build a robust coalition system that would protect and secure the elections as and when they come in.
2024 is not going to be very easy. Around the whole country, what the people see is very simple. The NDC is coming back. They say the NDC is coming back. But you know, when something belongs to you and you don't protect it, the thief will come for it. So we are not going to sleep even though the general belief is that the NDC is coming back. We are going to work with you. We are going to work with all the organs to make sure that the next election will give the party a one-touch victory. By about 2 a.m. that day, NDC will tell you the results. We are working hard behind the scenes to make sure that our collation system is very robust.
And Samuel, they did not come there alone. They came with an entourage of Kayaye. Why were they there?
Well, I interacted with some of them. There were about 20 of them. They came with their headbands, some also having their children at the back. I was curious to know why they did that, or they were there. And what they told me was that the current government has failed them. And they think John Mahama is the only person, if given the mandate again, will come and save us from the current economic situation, make their lives better.
The economy has become hard for us. We were promised hostels by this government, but that has not been built.
And Samuel, did they transport themselves to the place themselves? Was this a natural, spontaneous decision on the part of the KIA to follow the campaign team of John Mahama?
Well, they told me that they were transported from their base. One of their leaders told them that John Mahama was filing the nomination and they should come and support him. So they transported them to that head office of the NDC, and after that, they gave them 20 cedis each.
Our leader at the station told us about the filing of forms by Mahama. They brought us to the party office and we were given 20 cedis each.
So 2020, they are very, very happy with the 20 cedis. But someone tell me, John Mahama wasn't the only aspirant there today with his entourage. Of course, he didn't come himself. Who else was there?
So we have one Ernest Kobia, who hails from the Ashanti region. I'm told he's a businessman. He was the first person to pick his file his nominations today, and we are expecting that tomorrow, Kojo Bonsu will also come and file, and subsequently on Thursday, Dr. Kobina Dufour will also file. So we know there are 4. So after Thursday, the filing of nomination for the presidential should be over.
Samuel Mbura, thank you very much. And this is your election headquarters. This is where you want to stay for everything NDC, internal politics, the primaries. You're keeping an eye on the NPPs as well. When it happens, you will know first. Now, a mother with chronic kidney disease, Deborah Notte, is among over 90% of patients losing sleep over cost of treatment. With no job and little support from family and friends, spending at least 800 cedis weekly on dialysis is continuously becoming a nightmare in a harsh economy. Her only saving grace is to get a transplant which costs over $50,000. Mami Sinyamiche Thompson has more in our Living Standard series.
It's Deborah's first visit to the Kolebu Dialysis Center this week. She looks frail, tired, and out of breath. She hides her swollen feet in socks and covers her body with a long-sleeved blouse and skirt. She manages to feed on some pasta and stew to give her some energy for her 4-hour dialysis session. Deborah is at the end stage of chronic kidney disease. This means her kidneys have lost their function, making the removal of waste and extra water from her blood difficult. The dialysis machine now serves as her kidneys. To manage her condition and preserve her life longer, she's now restricted in the quantity of food and liquid she takes. According to her, the process is not only draining, but can be painful as well.
So whatever fluid we take throughout the days, it stays in our body till we come on the machine and the machine draws it out. So sometimes our muscles react to it. It gives us some spasms and cramps, which are very, very extremely painful. It's like your tissues are tearing apart.
Over 5 years ago, Deborah developed eclampsia, a complicated condition developed during her pregnancy, characterized by high blood pressure. Protein also started seeping into her urine, signaling kidney damage. Deborah has since been on dialysis.
Personally, I have witnessed or seen it's a particular man is late now. He did it for 15 years. That's the longest I've heard. Some get it less. Some even within 1 year of the condition, they are already gone. Some 2 years. So it depends on, I think, as and when God gives the grace.
She eventually lost a job and source of income because she couldn't work effectively. She has also lost her marriage and has very little support. Almost every week, she scrounges at least 800 cedis for her treatment.
A session like I'm doing today is 380 cedis. And that's the cheapest you can get. Kolibu is the cheapest so far. In case there are issues and we have to visit the private sector, we can pay as high as 550 for one session. And you need this at least 2 or 3 times in a week. So that piles up. And aside even the dialysis cost, we have our injections that we take to boost up our blood. Extremely expensive, 200 cedis.
But the cost is becoming difficult to bear. The benevolence of friends and family is waning. I find out from the principal nursing officer, Loretta, what the process of removing toxins from Deborah's blood entails.
There's the fistula. It's an artery and a vein which is joined together to form a huge vessel. So that one is also done surgically. That one is also another different cost. Yes. So before you can start, you have to go through all this process. You have to get the access, which takes about 2 to 3 months to mature before you can use it. Yes. So once you get the access, we have what we call the fistula needles. You have to do what we call cannulation. You have to cannulate. We have the arterial, like I said, an artery and a vein. So you connect the arterial and then the venous, and then you connect it to the blood lines. And then before you even start the whole process, you have to set up your dialysis machine. You have to set it up with the blood lines and then the dialyzer. Yes. So once you set up and then you are ready for the patient, you do your cannulation. The artery will actually bring out the blood to be filtered through the dialyzer. So after the filtration, the blood goes back to the patient. So it's more or less filtering the blood and then going back to the patient.
Loretta reveals more than 90% of patients are unable to afford care. According to her, care is expensive because the equipment and medications are imported into the country.
Transportation to come to the dialysis is an issue. So usually they will complain, oh, they don't have money to take a car to come to the center for the dialysis. And then some are actually, the cost, as like I said, the 3 times a week. They can't afford it 3 times, so they do the 2 times. So as much as possible, they need to keep their fluid level down. So they have a limit. They're supposed to take, depending on your prescription, you can only take about 500 to 750 mils of fluid, not water, fluid, the whole day.
But not all hope is lost for Deborah. She can function normally again if she's able to get a transplant. She currently needs a donor and over $50,000 for the surgery.
The transplant depends on the availability of funds. It's an extremely expensive procedure. We are talking of about $50,000 plus or more, depending on which facility you get to do it. And currently, unless you travel outside to...
Until then, Deborah is relying on the government and all stakeholders to make kidney dialysis easily accessible and affordable for patients.
Mami Sinyamicha Thompson filed that report, and that's it for Newsnight tonight. Geek Squad is up next, and Spiky is in the studio with me. And Spiky, I got this good news that you're having a part 2 of the conversation